On episode 193 of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, I discuss 11 reasons why you're not losing weight. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/193. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness? The 40 Plus Fitness podcast is here for you. I'm your host, Alan Meisner. I'm an NSAM certified personal trainer with a specialization in corrective exercise and fitness nutrition. Let me be your coach as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. So today I am going to share 11 reasons that you might not be losing the weight that you want to lose. But before I go there, I did want to take just a minute to remind you that I have launched the Surefire Results for Weight Loss program. It's a 28-day program that I've designed to provide you with 3 simple lifestyle changes that will make a difference and will start you on the path to losing weight. And I guarantee it, if you don't lose the weight, I'll give you your money back. So for $1 a day for a 28-day program, I don't think you can beat this deal. So I hope you will check it out. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/surefire. There's no better time than today to go ahead and sign up. And you can start when you want to, but really, today is the best day for you to get started. So go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/surefire. Hello, and welcome to 40 Plus Fitness podcast. I'm glad you're here today. This topic I'm going to go into might be a little bit sensitive for some, but I want to reflect it in a way that you understand that I get it, because I deal with the same problems that you do. I deal with the same stresses that you do and the same challenges. And so I'm not just going to go through this and say, this is why you're not losing the weight, yada, yada, yada. I'm not that big and high and mighty. Literally, I just want to have a conversation with you because these are things I am challenged with as well. And that's why I want to reflect them in my tone. And I want you to really understand where I'm coming from, of someone that really wants to help you understand this from an emotional perspective, because in many cases, that's exactly what it is. It's a mental and emotional perspective for why we're not reaching the goals that we want to reach. And so let's take this first moment there to first understand that. And then as we go into this, I don't want to say this in any way that makes you feel bad, but I do just want you to reflect on your own personal experiences. And when you find that nugget of truth of something that fits around your paradigm, I really do want you to start digging into that, because that's the core of this. Losing weight is actually a very emotional game. It's not a physical game. It's not something that we can do in the gym. It's something that you have to do on your own. You have to find your thing. You have to really dig deep into your own psyche, your own understanding, your own beliefs, if you want to achieve something great. And that's where this all comes together. So, let's take this step back first, but now let's go ahead and get into it. So my first tip is this, and you've heard me say this many, many times, is that you're not committing. And I mean that. Did you step back for any minute whatsoever and actually write that vow? And if you've listened to those episodes where I've talked about commitment, it's where you connect your why with your vision. So why do you want to lose weight? What is the driver for you wanting to be more healthy, to lose this weight? Is it to feel better about yourself? Is it a grandchild? Is it because you just want to feel better? What's the why that's driving you down this path? It's making you want this. And once you understand that why, then you have to step over here and say, okay, 5-10 years down the line, what does a healthier, lighter person like you feel like? What do they look like? What's their life like? Then you get that vision. So now I have a why and I have a vision. I have a vision of my why being my family, and that, when I retire, I want to be healthy. I want to enjoy those years. And my vision is me out playing football in the sand with my grandchildren, or playing soccer, or throwing the frisbee, or playing catch with the dog, or all those different things that I'm going to be able to do with my family and my pets and my wife, and all the things that we're going to be able to do then that I have to start working on today. So that's my why, and that's my vision. So I put those together, and I commit myself to do the things that are necessary for me to be healthy and fit for my family, so I can reach that vision I have of myself, playing on the sand with my children and grandchildren, enjoying my life, enjoying my retirement, all the things that come with that. So until you really make that commitment, all you really have is a want. All my life when I was a kid, I wanted a Corvette. I never committed to a Corvette. I never went down to the dealership and test drove and paid for and wrote the sign for a Corvette. Even though I could afford one at points in time in my life, I never went down to the dealership and committed to a Corvette. Why? Because it was just a want. I wasn't committed to it. So recognize the difference. And I know that's kind of drastic what we're talking about there, but it really isn't that drastic. If you're not committed to something, you're not going to stay with it. And when I talk about commitment, I really am talking about it from the nature of the same way that you would commit with your spouse. That same emotional bond. Why are you marrying this person? Well, I love them. I want to spend the rest of my life with them. Okay, what's your vision of what that looks like? And it might be picket fences and grandchildren running around or whatever the storyline for your life would be. But you had a vision. That day you got married, if you've already gotten married, you had a vision and you had a why. And you put that all together beautifully into a ceremony. And you made that vow statement, and it was real. You were committed. This is no different. If you're not committed to this, it's not going to happen the way you want it to happen. Because this isn't an accident. We don't lose weight by accident. That's not how it works. So, number one reason, I've spent a lot of time talking about this, and I'm sorry if I'm droning on, but you have to be committed for this to happen. Okay? Number two is quitting too soon. Okay? A lot of folks will start on a plan and they'll start working it, and it hurts. Oh, I've got the muscle aches and I got this, or, all that food's, I miss that food, and, I can't not have pancakes in the morning, or I can't not eat bread. I miss this, I miss that. And then they go back to eating the way they did before. They quit before they ever really even saw results. You've got to give this time. Your body has to recognize that it needs to adapt to the new food that you're eating so you can change. And that takes time. So many people will quit before they get too far down the line. And that's really the issue. So you need to stick with it. I know, like, I use ketosis as a way of dropping weight from time to time if I feel like I've put on a little bit. And ketosis is a very hard eating plan to stick with. For a couple days after you start eating for ketosis, you feel like crap. I mean, literally do. Feel like you have flu. They call it keto flu. I call it carb withdrawal. I think that's a more appropriate metaphor for it, another name for it. But, I feel like crap for a few days. Well, if I quit and I don't make it through that dip, then I'm never going to see the benefit on the other side. I'm never going to get into ketosis. So recognizing that once you start on a plan, you need to stick with it so you can start seeing the results. Number three is that we get duped by marketing. We see the pictures of individuals that have lost all this weight in 30 days, 60 days. You're like, wow, I want to lose 90 pounds in 60 days. How do I do that? The reality is, you read the little fine print on there. These are not typical results. The Federal Trade Commission makes people advertising put that on there if that's not the norm of what their clients get. They have to put that when they put a before and after picture to get that ad approved and not get the FTC on them. And so they put that little fine print, and you can even look at it if you're watching the Sunday TV and you see one of those infomercials for the fitness stuff. They're going to say, work off all that weight. If you read the little fine print they run across the screen there, these are not typical results. And a lot of those individuals have been working at that for months, not days, months, to get to the point where they look the way they look when they're on TV. So just recognize that the marketing can be misleading. You want real results, you've got to go to somebody you trust, you've got to go to someone you know, and it's going to start somewhere other than in the gym. I can tell you that right now. Okay. Number four is rewarding workouts. And this is one of my big downfalls when I was running all the time, is I would go do a really good run and I feel really good about it. And then I just go scarf down all kinds of carbs, all kinds of food. And the reality is that rewarding the exercise with food, saying, well, I deserve this because I did a hard run today, basically dismantles any kind of weight loss or weight maintenance that you're going to have. So you can't use food as a reward. Reward yourself by going to the movie. Reward yourself by buying yourself a new blouse or maybe buying a new pair of shoes. Those are better rewards that you're going to get a lot more miles out of than the food. So don't reward your exercise with food. That's the wrong mindset for weight loss. Okay, number 5 is portion size. When we go to a restaurant, most of the time when I look at the portion sizes in a restaurant, we are getting anywhere from 3, I'd say average of 3 portion sizes of meat, probably 2 or 3 portion sizes of starch, and then maybe a portion size of the vegetable. So the reality is when you go in and fix yourself a plate, your plate should be about 3/4 vegetables, and then maybe 20% starch and protein. You don't need that much of those two things. Vegetables are what you need, and a little bit of protein. But unfortunately, we've been taught by the restaurants and whatnot that portion size of beef is 16 ounces. That's not true. It's not even 6 ounces. A good portion of beef is 3 to 4 ounces. So, even when you're ordering the smallest steak that they serve at the steakhouse, you're getting a serving and a half, at least. So just recognize that as you go in about this, is that you have been told different about what portion sizes are. So if you're going to be tracking and looking at things, start paying attention to what your portion size is, and that will help you understand what your plate should look like. You should never fully cover a plate unless you're going to cover it with vegetables, and then eat with a smaller plate and start teaching yourself smaller portion sizes. Because if you eat slower and you're getting good nutrition, you don't need as much food. Number 6 is mindless eating. And this is pretty common for me around football season. It's very easy for me to go grab a bag of chips, some salsa, go sit down at the football game, sit down in front of the TV to watch a football game. The game's over. The bag of chips is gone. The can of salsa, a jar of salsa is gone. And I'm like, wow, I just ate an entire bag of chips and an entire jar of salsa and didn't even really taste it because I wasn't paying attention to it. So, being mindful about the food that you're eating, knowing why you're eating it, and knowing what it's for. So what's the nutritional value of this food? What's it going to do for me? And if the deal is I do want that salty chip and salsa, okay, what I should do is fix myself a little portion in a bowl, get a little portion of the salsa in a bowl, and go sit down with that. And obviously I'll eat that as well. But at least at that point, I made that mindful decision at the beginning to set myself up for success. Because even though I don't necessarily need that snack, I wanted that snack and I was going to give myself that snack. So I may as well do it in a respectful, smart way. Okay, number 7 is eating inflammatory foods. Now, one of the biggest inflammatory foods out there is sugar. And you know that I hate sugar. I'm just a big, sugar's the enemy. If you want weight loss, sugar is your enemy number 1. FBI number 1 most wanted list. Let the FBI have them, and you don't need them. Reality is sugar is your enemy because sugar is going to cause inflammation. Sugar is going to cause you all kinds of problems. Now, just like when you cut yourself and you get a little inflamed there, you notice how it gets warm and it kind of swells up a little bit, it puffs up. Drawing water and drawing stuff in to try to heal that. Well, when you're eating inflammatory foods, now what you've done is your entire digestive tract and your entire blood flow tract is all getting inflamed. So if you can imagine, a cut is just a small area of the surface of your skin. When you're eating bad foods, it's now all of your internal stuff. It's a big surface area. It's a lot of space that's now inflamed and swelling. So this inflammation weighs something. There's a weight to it. And so if you can cut the inflammatory foods, you're automatically going to see a decrease on the scale. You just are. So finding the foods that are inflammatory to you, and some of them that are, I mentioned sugar. For some people, it's milk because they have issues with lactose. Some people do have difficulties with nuts and legumes. Some people do have difficulties with nightshades, which are like your tomatoes and peppers. So getting it down to basic food stock of, meats and vegetables is typically going to get you down to a point where you don't have so much inflammation. So doing this elimination style diet where you eliminate those things and then slowly you can add them back in to see how they make you feel is going to be a great way for you to understand what foods you should be eating and shouldn't be eating. But I can tell you, sugar will never make the list. So just realize that if you cut those inflammatory foods, you are going to do better on your weight loss program. Okay, number 8 is exercise is greater than food. That's a formula, and it's not true. The reality is you cannot out-exercise a bad diet. You can sit down and say, I'm going to go run and burn 600 calories today on the elliptical machine. Therefore, I will lose weight. That doesn't work that way. You cannot out-exercise bad food choices, because if you go and you spent that hour and 15 minutes on that elliptical machine and burn that 600 calories, but then you stop by the McDonald's and you get yourself 2 Egg McMuffins, well, you just ate 800 calories and you just burned 600. So you're losing that calorie game if that's the game you wanted to play. The reality of it is you cannot out-exercise. Now, when we were younger, maybe we were doing a little bit more movement. We were doing a lot of other stuff. It was a little easier for us to kind of cover up the fact that we had this discrepancy of exercise being better than food. We covered it pretty well, but we didn't actually eliminate it. We were still having problems. We just didn't recognize it. Now, it's so much easier to see, and the effects are long-lasting. So there it is. And so the food is not better than the exercise. You cannot out-exercise a bad diet. You do have to start with the food. And this is coming from a personal trainer. So I want people working out. I want them in the gym. I want the training going on. I enjoy that aspect of this. I really, really do. And I wish that those were the conversations I could have with most people my age, is to say, let's just get in the gym and kill it. But that's not the reality of an individual who's over 40. That's the reality of someone who's 21 years old. We can say, okay, you ate some ho-hos, let's go kill it. And they'll do that. But, again, they're masking a problem that's going to haunt them later. And now we're at the end of the game, or almost at the end of the game. And if we don't do something today, then we're not going to get that change we're looking for in our lives. So we just can't mask it anymore. We can't outwork it. Okay, number 9 is a similar tenet of the calories in, calories out. And this I want to tackle from the other side is not so much the calories we burn, but to say it from the perspective of you can't not eat. If you're a sugar burner, if your body's used to burning sugar and you stop eating, your blood sugar is going to plummet and you're going to have a problem. You'll feel it. You'll get dizzy, woozy, oh, my blood sugar, and then you'll go eat another Snickers bar. So you've got to find that balance. Get yourself into an eating program that you can maintain as a lifestyle. And once you're comfortable with that, then you can start messing around with intermittent fasting and other things. So like when I go into work on ketosis, so what'll happen is I will stop eating anything that's carb-based, anything that's going to raise my blood sugar. So it's a moderate amount of protein. And I mean, really, I cut my protein way down, and then I'm eating mostly fats and a little bit of vegetables here and there. But actually at the very beginning, not much of that either. And so mostly fats and a little bit of protein, and I go. And so for 2 or 3 days, crapsville, I feel terrible. I'm having that carb flu and, carb withdrawals. And once I come out the other side, okay, my energy level rises back up. I'm now burning fat. So now I've been eating a good bit of fat and I'm burning that fat. I'm getting my body used to that. And then I can say, okay, now if I go ahead and I skip breakfast in the morning because I don't really feel hungry, so I'm not going to eat that fat that I would normally eat in the morning, that fat and protein. I'm not going to eat that in the morning. Runs around lunchtime, I might be a little bit hungry. Toss a couple nuts, and I'm good. Not a whole lot, because again, I don't want to. There's some carbs in those nuts. So take a few nuts right there for a little snack, and that runs me all the way to dinner time. And then now I find after a few days of that, maybe I forget to even eat the nuts because I didn't need them, and now I'm just eating dinner. So I'm on an intermittent fasting that was just a natural evolution of me paying attention to my hunger and still maintaining the right foods to keep me in that eating program. And so I only say that to say that if you just sit there and say, I'm going to cut myself down to 500 calories a day so I lose all this weight, you can't maintain that. Your body wasn't designed to do that. So even when I'm going and I'm doing this intermittent fasting, I'm still eating those calories. I'm just eating them in a more compressed. So I will sit there then and for my dinners, have a good high fat, high protein, have at that point I'm allowed to have 20 grams of carbs. 20 grams of carbs at one meal is pretty sweet when that's what when you built that in to how you're going to eat that meal. 20 grams of carbs is 800 calories. 80 calories. So I'm getting 80 calories from carbs, and that's when I can go ahead and kill it on the kale and do some things. Maybe even occasionally throw in a sweet potato when I'm doing that, and not take myself out of ketosis. So, as I go through it, it allows me to I still get those calories. I can tell you that sweet potato's got butter on it. It's got some cinnamon, no sugar. It's sweet enough already. And then just kind of throw it. And that's another thing that happens when you get into ketosis is if you let yourself and you don't do the artificial sweeteners, your natural taste buds will start to taste the sweetness of other things, and you won't need that as much. You'll get more comfortable with what normal food tastes like, and you won't need the sweetness. But just recognizing that you can't not eat and taking yourself down to this, I'm only going to eat 1,200 calories, or I'm only going to eat 800 calories, or I'm only going to eat 500 calories, really is not what your body was designed to do. Your metabolism is going to slow down, and that's really going to cause you issues later when you stop doing this. When you say, okay, I've lost 10 pounds and now I'm going to stop doing it, or you stop for some other reason, and you just shoot straight back up because you've lowered your metabolism because you didn't really balance that all out. So just recognize that you can't play that calories in, calories out as a drastic game. If you're going to play the calories in, calorie out model, then it has to be this very moderate managed thing. I'm not going to have a gap of more than 500. Recognize that calories in, calories out is all an estimate anyway, but just saying, I'll eat marginally less than I think I'm burning, and I'll do that for a long, long time with the expectation that I'll see progress over time to get there. So the calories in, calories out can work for you if you're a very, very, very patient person and you are willing to dedicate years to get there, because it took you years to get where you are today. So if you're going to play the calories in, calories out game on the way out, then you're dedicating yourself to years of living that way, which means measuring your food, logging your food, doing all of those things. And if you look back at our ancestors 200-300 years ago, they weren't logging food. They didn't know what a calorie was. They ate when they were hungry. They ate real food, and they were fine. So you can pick the way you go about this, and you can be successful. There's a lot of different ways to get to the end game. I recognize that. But the calories in, calories out can be the reason why you're not getting the weight loss that you want. But you can get there. It's just you have to have the patience to make that happen. Okay, number 10 is having no plan at all. Like I said, I wanted a Corvette when I was younger, but I didn't really plan for buying a Corvette. My life worked out okay at times, and I could have afforded it. But again, I wasn't committed to it. So having a plan is something that you can say you dedicated yourself. So I decided I wanted to launch this podcast. And so I had a plan for how to launch the podcast, what I had to do. Basically, I knew I needed a machine to record. I needed a microphone. I knew that I needed to have a host. I knew that I needed to set up a website. I knew that I was going to have to do this audio production, which I actually hired someone to do for me now. And so I knew I was going to have to write these show notes. I knew I was going to have a topic. Eventually, I was like, I want guests. So I planned this all out, and that's why you're listening to me today. Without a plan, there would be no podcast. And without a plan, there won't be any weight loss. So, I told you I use ketosis. I use the low carb, high fat diet as my way of weight loss, is what I feel the most comfortable with. The calories in, calories out model can work. It just has a different plan to it. It's a different approach. Trying to burn the calories by running and exercising and then eating less will work. It's just, again, it's a plan. It's a path. It's something you have to stick to. And it takes a dedication, takes an approach. So having that plan and then sticking to that plan is what's going to get you the results. Not having a plan, what's the saying is, failing to plan is planning to fail. And that's the literal truth here as well. And then number 11 is doing it on your own. Some people can gut check this and say, I got this, this is what I want. And they're self-driven, they're self-motivated, and they make it happen. If that's not you, then that's part of the problem. You probably need some accountability. You probably need some people going through this with you. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for that help. Don't be afraid to find those accountability partners, because, with 67% of the United States either overweight or obese, you can't tell me that you don't know a friend that wants to lose weight. And so I know you have that friend out there that wants to lose weight. And if you can get them to the same point where they're ready to commit to losing weight, and you have a committed partner that's facing the same journey you are, then by all means, grab their hand and you guys run forward. Make this thing happen for you. That accountability is going to help you. Having someone to talk to when you're struggling is going to help you. When you're sitting there saying, I'm about to get in the car and drive down to the pick and pack to get myself a candy bar because I'm dying here, being able to call a friend or text a friend and say, talk me down, can be important. And for you to be there to talk them down, can also embolden you to know that you've changed, that you're ready to help others. And that's a huge, huge insight into growth, personal growth, where you know that you've changed. You know there's something different in you where you're now helping others achieve what you want to achieve, and you're achieving it together. So going it alone works for some people, but if it doesn't work for you, go find that partner that's going to help you be successful. So let's do a quick recap. Okay, number one is not committing. This is one of my most critical foundation things. And if you're not committed to this, then you don't get it. It just doesn't happen. It's the same thing with life. If you didn't commit to certain things during life, then you know you didn't get them. Things just don't happen usually. And weight loss isn't just going to happen when weight gain has been what's happened in your entire life. So if you want weight loss, you have to commit to that change. Number two is quitting too soon. You get started on something, it's hard. And if you don't commit to it, if you don't push through, then you quit. And when you quit, you lose. You haven't lost the game until you quit. And so if you keep fighting and you keep moving, you keep doing this, eventually you'll get what you deserve. You'll get what you've committed for. But if you quit, it's not going to work. This is another terrible diet. You quit, you lose. Okay. Number three is you're duped by marketing. Don't believe all the marketing claims. Go by what you know, go by what you've seen, and go by what you feel for yourself. I've tried doing some of those programs, the P90X and the Insanity. I can tell you, those are intense damn programs, and they look great. Those guys on the videos look great. But when you get the videos and you start actually watching them, what you find is most of the folks on those videos, they've been doing this 3 or 4 times. So they've been doing at this for over a year. And now I'm looking at them a year or 2 down the line. They're all a little younger than me. And so the question is, should I be able to keep up with them? Should I be able to do this the way they did that? And the answer is no. And that's, again, the small print. This is not a typical result. And it may particularly not be a typical result for someone over 40. So just recognize that the marketing claims of what you're seeing on these diets might not be entirely true for you. Okay, number 5 is portion sizes. We need to start relearning what portion sizes are. A serving of meat is about the size of the palm of your hand, not including your fingers. So when you kind of put your hand out, you kind of understand what a piece of meat, what a pork chop or a piece of beef or a piece of chicken should look like, 3 to 4 ounces. Most restaurants are serving us much more than that. So we've learned these bigger portions, and we need to unlearn that. We need to go back to eating a standard portion. Okay, number 6 is mindless eating. So know why you're eating and what you're eating it for. It's okay to eat a treat now and then because you want it, but know that's what you're doing. Just be mindful of that's what this is for. This is a treat. This is not a normal thing I eat every day, but I'm going to have this treat and I'm going to have it in a responsible way. Number 7 is eating inflammatory foods. Include sugar. It can include milk. It can include nuts. It can include some other things that you might be eating. Any other simple carbs. But just recognize that a good elimination diet would be something that would eliminate some of these things from your food, allow that inflammation to go down, and then you would know. When you tried to reintroduce it and you saw the weight gain come back, you'd know immediately that that was a food you cannot tolerate, you cannot eat. So eating inflammatory foods is hampering your weight loss. And if you can get off those foods, you'll notice some almost immediate weight loss because that inflammation will start to go down. Okay. Number 8 is believing that exercise can beat bad food choices. You can't exercise yourself out of a bad diet. Conversely, number 9, you can't undereat what you need to live. So, the calories in, calorie out model can work if structured properly, but it's the long game. It is a very slow play game of gradual. And most people I know really, really struggle when they don't see the week on week loss of weight. They believe they're off plan. They believe there's a problem. And that's where the calorie in, calorie out model fails, is the amount of weight that you would lose on a calorie in, calorie out model would likely be about 1 pound a week at best. You might lose more at the beginning, but it's going to plateau out a bit. And there may be months on a calorie in, calorie out diet model where you don't lose any weight at all. And that can be for a number of different reasons. But just recognize that if you If you do this, you're tying yourself into a counting calories every single day for the rest of your life if that's how you want to eat. I'd recommend finding something that's a little bit more lifestyle balanced. But again, a lot of people are successful with calorie counting, with exercise, with calorie counting, and you may be too, but just it's the long haul. It really, really is. Okay. Number 10 is that you don't have a plan. So right now, be thinking about what you want in a plan. What's the right plan for you to go forward? And then number 11 is when you're trying to do it on your own. And the last two particularly I want to talk about because I put together the Surefire Results for Weight Loss program, the 28-day program to kind of get you started, but it's really a lifestyle program because it takes just 3 basic lifestyle changes, just 3 very easy ones. And we use those for the first 28 days. So I can show you how these principles that I've talked about today actually work. And for 28 days, you go through this and I'm there. And so within the Facebook group, you've got accountability. You've got the friend that you can grab the hand on and say, let's go do this. It's very cost effective at $1 a day for this program. And again, with the Facebook group, with me, with the daily program that you go through and you learn about what these things are, you learn about why we're doing what we're doing and why it's working. And then I keep you accountable. Every week we have the weigh-in. So you're going to weigh yourself, you're going to check your measurements, and you're going to see the change over 28 days. And if you don't see the change, then I'll give you your money back. But I'm telling you right now, if you commit to the program and you come in, Surefire Results for Weight Loss will help you lose the weight. It incorporates every single one of the antithesis of these reasons you're not losing weight and make sure that you can be successful. And again, it's a lifestyle-based program. There's no calorie counting. It's very, very simple. It's 3 basic lifestyle changes. And I know that it works. I've seen it work many times now, and I know it'll work for you. So if you really, really want to get this done, there's no better time than today. Go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/surefire and join us today. Okay, so did you learn something valuable today? I hope you did. If you did, would you please share this with someone you know, friends or family, that could use it? I really would appreciate it, and they would too. So thank you so much for being a part of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, and thank you for sharing. Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, I share my best stress reduction tips. Until then, have a happy and healthy day.